Under the full moon, a curved blade slices through the night air, leaving a trail of blood over the rooftops. The weapon belongs to a lone warrior who carves a path of destruction with a glowing pink aura. His fierce attack cuts down another opponent, who falls before the powerful slash. The warrior stands with blood on his face, his expression a mix of exhaustion and grim determination. He is surrounded by fallen bodies while a voice taunts him for using techniques other than his family's. The speaker is Dugdong, leader of the Blood Demon cult, who notes that the family technique was passed to a brat. The former head, Sanwu Jin, looks down and calls the warrior vicious for slaughtering his own family. Dugdang then gestures toward a young girl in the distance, asking what he will do about the child. A look of despair crosses the warrior's face, which seems to please the cult leader. She cruelly orders Sanwu Jin, the last head of his family, to kill the young girl as well. The girl, Sanwu Yanhua, holds her own sword, her face filled with a mix of fear and defiance. At that moment, the ghostly figures of his fallen comrades appear behind Sanwu Jin. He lowers his head in sorrow, apologizing to his captain for feeling like he could never be like him. A spectral hand comforts him as his captain's spirit gently asks if he is cowering again. The spirit tells him he has already done his best and that the results are not his responsibility. He remembers his captain's words about never giving up and decides to do what he can until the very end. He realizes that if he is captured, he will become Dugdang's puppet and a threat to his captain. With renewed resolve, he decides he would rather die by his own will than be taken. The cult leader watches in shock and outrage, demanding to know what he is planning to do. He declares that she won't be able to use his body and vows to kill her, even if he becomes a ghost. Without hesitation, he plunges the blade into his own chest as the cult leader screams in fury. His vision blurs and the world around him fades into a distant, hazy memory. As he falls, he regrets running away from his problems instead of living more earnestly. His spirit drifts in a purple void, and he hears an angry voice calling his name. Suddenly, an old man with a furious expression demands to know if Jin has anything to say. He finds himself kneeling on the floor, much younger and with his hands bound, looking utterly confused. The young man is in a large room, being judged by the old man while others watch from the side. He recognizes the man as his father, Sanwu Jung, whom he has not seen in 10 years. The youth looks up with a dazed expression, quietly addressing the man as his father. He closes his eyes for a moment, trying to make sense of the bewildering situation. Looking down at his tied hands, the feeling of disorientation only grows stronger. His father accuses him of admitting to the murder of his brother in law by staying silent. The youth is shocked, wondering if he really killed a man named Dan Hasang. A memory surfaces of him drinking happily with his friend, recalling that Dan died over 10 years ago. He then remembers standing over his friend's body, but believes he had no motive or ability to do it. He realizes he has returned to the past, to the moment he was framed for his friend's murder. Back in the present moment, kneeling before his father, he can only say that he does not remember. The family head erupts in anger, yelling that his answer is completely unacceptable. His 3 brothers watch with smirks as their father debates killing him to appease the Dan family. One of his brothers suggests they should cripple him and send him over alive for them to handle. The youngest brother then proposes sending Jin to the front lines, citing the Alliance's request for a family member. He argues it is a good way for a life destined to die to be useful, as their father silently considers the idea. The other brothers look pleased, realizing this plan would also spare them from having to go themselves. The front lines mark the border, where the Martial Alliance fought the Blood Demon cult during the Great Blood War. Though the Alliance stopped the cult's invasion, they couldn't reclaim the occupied lands, so they established a watch post. Jin understands this is a perfect excuse for his brothers to dispose of him, using the false accusation as justification. He remains kneeling, convinced that one of his siblings must have orchestrated the entire conspiracy against him. Later that night, he sits alone in a cell, knowing his father's decision is the same as in his past life. Hearing footsteps approach, he strengthens his resolve, thinking that this time he must obtain what he needs. A young woman, Sanwu Yanhua, appears at his cell, her face etched with worry as she asks if he is okay. Jin reassures her that he is fine and asks about her, and she replies that she believes he is innocent. He remembers that in his previous life, she only cried, so this time he confidently declares that he is not the culprit. The girl is visibly shocked by his unexpectedly firm and clear statement of innocence. She asks why he is so certain, so he calmly explains he had no reason to harm his only friend and her fiancé. He reveals they were face to face when a sword he did not possess was found stuck in his friend's back. After processing this, Yanwo asks why he remained silent and didn't defend himself in front of their father. Jin simply replies that going to the front line seemed like a better choice for him, which only confuses her more. A memory from his childhood flashes through his mind, recalling how he had to survive on his own after his mother died. His excellent memory made him a prodigy, but he was forced to act like a fool to survive among his jealous brothers. But the act became a self-destructive habit, and by the time he realized it, he had truly become a fool to everyone. For 21 years, he was seen as a worthless fool, a shame to his family who was constantly mocked. To change his fate, he must leave the family and meet his hero, Gale Flying Dragon Seolpung, at the front lines. But he notices Yeonwa's attitude has changed. She's not comforting him like she did in the past. He wonders if his own calm demeanor is the reason for her different reaction this time. Just then, he senses another presence and turns around with a thoughtful hum. With a sudden gasp, he realizes who has been silently watching him from the shadows. His father, Sanwoo Jung, stands outside the cell, his expression unreadable. Jin is surprised because his father's presence also feels different from how he remembers it. In his past life, his father would simply sigh and leave after seeing him beg to be set free. But this time, the family head stands his ground and asks his son if he was truly framed for the murder. The young man realizes his father must have overheard his conversation with Yeonwa. The older man admits he always knew Jin was acting foolish on purpose, but didn't know he wanted to leave. He apologizes to his son, blaming himself for letting his life become such a mess. Jin is stunned by this unexpected apology, as his father had always neglected him in the past. He recalls how even his father, the head of the family, was heavily influenced by his in-laws. He realizes that his father's neglect might have been a subtle way of protecting him. Sanwoo Jung then asks if his son has any final requests before he is sent away. Seizing the opportunity, Jin asks for permission to enter the head's private library for just one day. His father is surprised by the request, questioning why he would want to visit the library now. Jin explains that he is ashamed of not knowing his family's martial arts and wants to learn before leaving. He recalls that in his past life, he knew nothing of his family's arts and had to steal techniques from others. If he could learn the Soundwoo 13 swords, he knows he could advance much faster this time. His father scoffs at the idea of learning martial arts in a single day from books alone. Despite his skepticism, the family head closes his eyes and agrees to grant the request. The young man is thrilled but stops, as his father adds a condition to the agreement. The older man states that learning cultivation alone is dangerous, so he will teach him directly. Though surprised, Jin quickly agrees and sits in the lotus position as instructed. His father places his hands on the cell door, declaring he will pass on the primordial infinite arts. He then transfers a glowing energy into Jin's back, while reciting the incantation for him to memorize. The youth is shocked, realizing he is being taught the secret art only the head and hair can learn. He feels a strange sensation, something he should be happy about, but that feels slightly off. As his father continues the energy transfer, Jin struggles to understand this unfamiliar feeling. A moment of quiet passes as he processes the unexpected turn of events. Meanwhile, his brothers protest loudly, arguing that their father should not let Jin into the library. Sanwoo Jung calmly replies that it would damage the family's honor if Jin dies without knowing anything. He firmly states that his decision is final, leaving his other sons stunned into silence. Later, Jin stands alone in the vast library, grateful that his request was granted for one day. He clasps his hands with a grin, a mysterious, ghostly figure appearing behind him. The figure asks if one day is truly enough, and the young man confidently replies that it is plenty. His goal is not to learn the arts in a day, but to memorize every single detail with his perfect memory. His photographic memory was once considered a sign of a prodigy, allowing him to survive by mimicking his comrades. Captain Seolpung had even given his special ability a name, calling it the scene memory technique. Now, sitting in the library, he feels confident he can absorb all the information and put it to good use. He begins his study with the primordial infinite arts and the family's ultimate technique, the 13 swords. After cramming countless books into his head, he lies on the floor, completely drained from the effort. He admits to himself that he doesn't understand the 13 swords at all and decides to step out for fresh air. Feeling mentally exhausted, the youth heads outside to take a much-needed break from his intense studies. He collapses onto the grass nearby, wondering if he should just give up for the day. Lying on the ground, he lets out a deep sigh, the mental fatigue weighing heavily on him. He acknowledges that he can't understand most of what he's read, which makes him question his efforts. Suddenly, a familiar mocking voice cuts through the air, wondering what martial arts he could possibly learn. His brothers are walking by with several young women, sneering at his supposed laziness. Among them are 2 ladies he doesn't recognize, one of whom watches him with quiet curiosity. The group stops and looks down at him from a distance as one of the women asks about his identity. His brother smugly introduces him as the family's shameful younger brother, calling him more of a pig than a human. The young lady is surprised to learn that he is being sent to the front lines the very next day. One brother quickly steps in, urging the esteemed young lady judge not to waste her attention on him. They continue to belittle him in front of the guests, saying he is just a pig going to pay for his crimes. He immediately recognizes the name, realizing she is the famous genius swordsman, Juj Soil. He remembers hearing that she was touring various families to gain experience, which explains her presence. He gets up from the ground as his youngest brother, Ji, approaches him with a sneer. The sibling mockingly asks how his training went and challenges him to demonstrate his newfound skills. Jin tries to brush him off, saying one day of training makes no difference, and he should hurry back. Annoyed by the dismissal, his brother throws a sudden punch, intending to humiliate him. To everyone's surprise, Jin catches the fist effortlessly, a faint purple aura glowing around his hand. The attacker is stunned into silence, completely shocked that his punch was so easily blocked. Jin winces, realizing how weak his current body is if simply blocking a punch causes him pain. The other siblings burst into laughter, taunting Ji for being stopped by a pig and calling his punch slow. Humiliated and enraged, Ji leaps forward, unleashing a more serious and rapid assault. He lands a series of quick strikes on Jin, who appears to be taking the hits without fighting back. The young man grimaces from the flurry of blows, enduring the pain as he is pushed back. But as he watches the movements, he notices that the attack style seems strangely familiar. A flash of insight hits him as he recognizes the pattern in his brother's martial arts. He is certain that this is the Sanwo family's unique fighting style in action. Jai continues his relentless attack, unknowingly demonstrating the Gale 13 strikes. A wide, excited grin spreads across Jin's face as he realizes the opportunity, exclaiming that this is good. The attacker stops in confusion, bewildered by his brother's bizarre and happy reaction. Jin quickly backtracks, saying he misspoke, then taunts his brother to hurry up and attack more. The onlookers find this hilarious, mocking Ji by saying his attacks must feel good to his target. Driven by pure rage, Ji screams and launches himself forward again, while Jin laughs, ready for more. The real-life demonstration helps him finally understand the movements he couldn't grasp from the manual alone. He recognizes the technique as Gale-breaking wave, which uses fists and leads to target weak points. But he notices his brother isn't executing the moves correctly, leaving a clear opening in his defense. With a surge of glowing pink energy, Jin strikes his brother's chest, hitting the exposed weak point perfectly. Jai stumbles backward, coughing up blood from the unexpected and powerful counterattack. Jin takes a deep breath and quickly jumps back to create distance, his own body atching from the brief exchange. The oldest brother scoffs, dismissing the victory as dumb luck, and challenges Jin to show them the technique again. The young man realizes he is too exhausted to continue and can't risk exposing his current physical limits. The female genius, Juj Seoil, speaks up, calling the brother's behavior disappointing. Flustered, the eldest brother quickly tries to save face, claiming he was just about to check on his injured sibling. As his brothers help the fallen Jin reflects on how pathetic it is to have been beaten by them for so long. With their pride wounded, the group helps their injured brother up and walks away in defeat. Once they are gone, Jin collapses to the ground in relief, knowing he needs to improve his body's condition. Lying on the grass, he closes his eyes, completely spent from the fight and the intense day of studying. He is startled when he opens his eyes and finds his father standing over him, looking down with a neutral expression. The youth scrambles to sit up, stammering an explanation for his seemingly lazy behavior. But his father simply tells him he worked hard and did well, offering a rare and gentle smile of approval. Jin is left speechless, touched by the unexpected words of praise from his usually distant father. The family head then reveals that of his 4 marriages, only one was by his own choice. He admits that while he once believed everything he did was for the family, he is no longer so sure. He asks if his son read the manual for the Sanwu 13 swords, and Jin confirms that he did. The family head then says he's going to practice swordsmanship, and tells his son to rest before going back inside. He draws his sword, a serious and focused expression on his face, as he prepares to demonstrate the forms. With swift and powerful movements, he gracefully executes the family's legendary sword techniques. Jin watches in awe, recognizing the fluid and deadly dance as the Sanwu 13 swords. The head of the family repeats the forms over and over, from the first to the 13th, each time faster than the last. With a surge of glowing energy, he performs the techniques with incredible power and precision. The young man realizes with a jolt of gratitude that his father is personally demonstrating the forms, just for him. Back in the library, he sits among piles of books, now able to cross-reference the manuals with his fresh memory. He reads through his ancestors' diaries but finds that while they left insights, he still can't fully understand the art. He sets down a stack of books, admitting that even the basic forms are difficult to comprehend completely. As he picks up another book, he notices something strange about its cover. Pausing to take a closer look, he realizes that one side of the book's cover is significantly thicker than the other. Carefully, he pries open the thick cover, suspecting something might be hidden inside. As expected, he finds a folded piece of parchment concealed within the book's binding. He unfolds the hidden paper and discovers it contains an explanation of additional forms. As he examines the document, he finds detailed illustrations of a 14th form. Turning the paper over, he is stunned to find instructions for a 15th form as well. A look of dawning realization crosses his face as he stares at the hidden techniques. Later that night, the family estate is quiet, with lights glowing softly from within the buildings. In her room, Sanwu Yahenwa sits at her vanity, quietly arranging her hair while looking at her reflection. She lets out a soft sigh, her mind drifting back to the events that unfolded earlier in the day. Her thoughts turn to the visiting genius, Judge Seoyul, and the commotion she caused among her brothers. She recalls seeing her own family members fawning over the famous guest from Heaven's Gift, Sword Peak. Back in the present, she runs her hands through her hair in frustration, wishing she were a little stronger. Her maids enter, gossiping about how the 4th master was beaten up and injured by the 3rd young master. One of the maids adds that he was trying to show off for Lady Juge, and fainted right in front of her. The maids burst into laughter at the humiliating story, but they are quickly silenced by a sudden movement. Yanhwa stands up, her eyes glowing with a menacing red light as she asks them to repeat what they just said. Terrified by her sudden change in demeanor, the maids nervously confirm that the story is true. She is utterly shocked and furious, unable to believe that Jin would dare to harm their brother. Meanwhile, Juge Soil receives a document from her companion, containing information on Sanwu Jin. The genius swordswoman thanks her friend, promising to pay her back for buying the information. Her companion asks why she is so interested in the fat young master, and Judge admits she was shocked by his physique. The blue-haired girl agrees, noting how his eyes were just slits buried in fat while clutching a teddy bear. The teddy bear she holds seems to let out a puff of air, as if mimicking a snicker. Juge playfully suggests her friend is only interested because Jin resembles the treasured doll she always carries. But her companion explains that the move he used wasn't ordinary, which made her curious about his past. The genius acknowledges her friend's keen insight, but wonders why she'd bother with someone so physically weak. She muses that if even their own master couldn't understand her friend's curiosity, she has no hope of figuring it out. The genius swordswoman finds it fascinating that her companion can read with her hair covering her eyes. The blue-haired girl simply states that since she can see the letters, she can read them. Juge thoughtfully considers her friend's unusual hairstyle and wonders if she should suggest a change, but her companion teases that she might get jealous if Juge received any more attention than she already does. Juge laughs, saying she is glad to have a friend who is not interested in the spotlight. The girl replies that she feels the same, appreciating that Juge is not like a typical member of her famous family. The next morning, Jin prepares to leave for the front lines, with his father and sister there to see him off. The family head tells his son to stay healthy and to bring honor to their name during his time away. Jin bows respectfully, promising that he will definitely honor the family and return to see them again. He then turns to thank his sister for coming out so early, but she says it is only natural for such a long journey. Manhwa then holds out a carefully wrapped package for him to take on his trip. He takes the bundle and asks what is inside, and she explains that she prepared some rice balls for him to eat. He asks if she made them herself, and she confirms it, though she admits she cannot guarantee the taste. The young man smiles warmly, thanking her and saying he will enjoy them, calling her the only one he has. With his farewell said, he mounts his horse, ready to begin his journey to the front lines. His father and sister watch silently as he and his escorts ride out of the family estate. Sometime later, the group makes its way through a dense forest path, heading toward their destination. Suddenly, Jin pulls on the reins, bringing his horse to an abrupt halt and surprising the guards behind him. One of the men asks about the sudden stop, but Jin simply states that it is not yet time to rest. He observes the group's leader, Jang Gang Song, noticing the man seems worried he might cause trouble. The young man calmly announces to the stunned escorts that he intends to run the rest of the way to Yunnan. He clarifies that he is doing this not only for training, but also as a way to lose weight. The guards are incredulous, reminding him of the long distance and his current physical condition. The leader sighs, understanding his determination, but worrying about the losses they will incur due to the contract. Seeing their hesitation, Jin asks the leader what he thinks of the horse he was given for the journey. The man agrees that it is a very fine horse, but he is unsure of what the youth is getting at. Jin then offers to give the valuable horse to the escorts, which leaves the leader momentarily speechless. The other guards immediately start whispering, realizing that a horse like that would be worth a significant amount. He had expected them to try and take advantage, but their greed is still a bit disappointing to see. The leader, however, sighs and decides to be honest with the young master. He explains that for a horse of that quality, the price would be far too much for them to accept as a simple fee. Surprised by this unexpected honesty, Jin apologizes for misjudging the warrior and praises his character. The man awkwardly tries to downplay the compliment, admitting he is well aware of the horse's high value. He adds that he is also worried his own resolve might weaken if he were to keep such a fine animal for himself. Jin proposes they think of it as a mutually beneficial exchange, asking for some conveniences in return for the horse. The leader looks at the young master with new respect, realizing he is completely different from the rumors. He agrees to the terms, shaking Jin's hand and promising that they will do their best to accommodate him. And so, his long run began, a journey that would take 3 days by horse but much longer on foot. He knows the grueling task will be difficult, but he is confident it will be the nourishment for his rebirth. With grim determination, he vows that in this life, he will be different no matter what it takes. The journey quickly proves to be too much for his unfit body, and he soon gets sick from the exertion. His escorts rush to his side, worried he might be trying to find an excuse to avoid going to the front lines. But he brushes off their concerns, wipes his mouth, and declares that he has rested enough and is ready to go. A short while later, He is lying flat on his back on the ground, completely exhausted, with the escorts watching. The men can't believe how difficult running seems to be for him, as they stand around with their horses. He hasn't even lasted 30 minutes, and now he feels too weak to move a single finger. He feels a cloth gently wiping the sweat from his face, and looks up in confusion. A young woman with blue hair offers him a handkerchief, telling him to wipe his sweat. He is startled to see her, recognizing her as young lady Chiang Yan, and feeling embarrassed by his state. The girl is surprised he knows her name, so he explains that his memory allowed him to recall it from the day before. She tells him to keep the handkerchief, as she has several more, and places it in his hand. As he holds the cloth to his face, he is unsure how to react to her unexpected kindness. She then offers a small smile and some words of encouragement, saying she will be cheering for him. The young woman turns and walks away, leaving him and the escorts to continue their journey. The guards are amazed and envious that he received a handkerchief from such a lovely young lady. He feels a swell of pride, even though he suspects her kindness wasn't meant in a romantic way. Feeling energized by the encouragement, he jumps to his feet and rallies the men to continue their run. But his renewed enthusiasm is short-lived, and he soon collapses again, getting sick once more. Seeing his state, the men decide it's a good time to stop and eat before they continue. He drools at the thought of food, realizing that he will be eating outdoors quite a lot on this trip. Later that evening, the group sets up a campfire in the woods, preparing their meal for the night. Jin approaches the men and asks if he could have some of their food as well. The leader agrees, but curiously asks why he isn't eating the meal his sister prepared for him. With a dismissive laugh, he bluntly states that his sister's cooking is not fit for human consumption. The men erupt in laughter, agreeing that it would be unfair if a beautiful lady from a prestigious family could also cook well. One of the guards jokes about his bluntness, but Jin's smile fades as a sudden realization dawns on him. He clenches his fist, a dark expression on his face as he processes a new, unsettling thought. In the distance, he imagines small animals and birds that might have eaten the discarded rice balls. The scene in his mind turns grim as the creatures lie lifeless on the ground, confirming his fears. He remembers how his sister, Yanhwa, acted differently this time compared to his past life. In his previous life, she was his only family, and he found comfort in her worried eyes. But now he recalls the inexplicable hatred and contempt that he had once dismissed as his imagination. He finally understands that his foolish past self had failed to see the truth right in front of him. From the very beginning, his sister was never on his side, and she may have even been involved in his friend's murder. He feels a pang of loss, realizing that just as he gained his father's trust, he has now lost his sister. Standing up with renewed purpose, he tells the men he is ready to continue their training. With a polite smile, he asks if he could borrow one of their blades for his practice. The rest of the journey became a continuous and grueling training session for the young man. He ran while they traveled, swung his blade while they rested, and pushed himself to his absolute limits. He even practiced his cultivation methods with less sleep, determined not to waste a single moment. He knows the front lines are a death trap, so he has no choice but to push himself to the absolute limit. The leader of his escort group admits that he has never seen someone train as fiercely as the young master. He confesses that at first, he didn't think Jin would last long, but now he feels ashamed of his initial judgment. The young man just smiles, explaining that he is simply struggling because he doesn't want to die. Suddenly, he stumbles and falls to the ground, a wave of dizziness washing over him from the intense training. The escorts immediately draw their weapons, sensing danger and demanding to know who is there. A group of rough-looking men emerges from the trees, mocking them for expecting etiquette in a fight. They are surrounded by a large group of bandits, who order them to drop their weapons and surrender. The leader of the bandits, a large man with a double-sided axe, threatens to split their heads in two. The escort leader is shocked, recognizing the man as Makgu Sam, the infamous leader of the Green Tiger Gang. He quickly whispers to Jin, telling him to take the horse and run if a fight breaks out. Jin remembers hearing about the bandit leader, who is known for being a properly trained martial artist. The escort leader steps forward and respectfully greets the bandit, acknowledging his reputation. He offers to pay a toll, hoping to resolve the situation peacefully through dialogue instead of violence. The bandit leader agrees that a toll sounds good, then declares their toll is everything they own. As his men laugh, the escort leader desperately urges Jin to get on the horse and escape, but the young man stands his ground, angrily demanding to know how they dare attack the third son of the Sanwoo family. The bandit leader looks him over, surprised to learn he is from such a prestigious family. The bandit leader simply scoffs, unimpressed by the family name and clearly not intimidated. With a confident stance, Jin and his escorts prepare for the inevitable confrontation with the Green Tiger Gang. The bandit leader accuses him of trying to deceive them, but Jin nervously insists he is from the Sanwoo family. To prove his identity, he pulls out a golden family medallion, showing it as proof of his lineage. The leader demands that he throw the medallion over for inspection, refusing to get any closer. One of the escorts warns him not to get close, fearing it's a trap, but the bandit threatens to attack if they don't comply. Jin reluctantly agrees to throw it, but he insists that the bandit must return it after he has verified its authenticity. He tosses the medallion through the air, and the bandit leader reaches out to catch it. The man catches the golden object, a look of triumph on his face as he prepares to inspect it. But as he glances down, Jin lunges forward with incredible speed, his sword drawn and ready to strike. He unleashes a powerful attack, catching the bandit leader completely off guard by the sudden ambush. The bandit leader gasps in pain as the blade cuts into him, unable to react in time. His men and the escorts watch in stunned silence as their leader is wounded in the blink of an eye. Realizing it's a trap, the bandits quickly draw their own swords and rush forward to attack. But Jin is ready for them, his hands steady on the hilt of his sword as he prepares for the fight. He meets their charge head-on, deflecting their attacks with a calm and focused expression. With a flurry of swift and precise movements, he cuts through the charging bandits with ease. His blade glows with a faint pink aura as he carves a path of destruction through the enemy ranks. The escort leader, seeing their young master in action, rallies his men to charge in and support him. The remaining bandits, terrified by his overwhelming skill, begin to panic and try to flee. He stands victorious, his back to the fleeing men, a sense of rightness washing over him. He grips his blood-stained sword, feeling his body and soul finally in sync after so long. He feels a deep sense of satisfaction, rejoicing in the familiar atmosphere of the battlefield. He stands among the fallen bandits, the only one left standing besides his astonished escorts. But the moment the adrenaline fades, he collapses to the ground, utterly exhausted from the fight. His escorts rush to his side, looking down at him with a mix of awe and concern. The leader asks if he is a rejuvenated elder, unable to believe a young master could possess such skill. Jin laughs off the question, pointing out that no rejuvenated elder would collapse from exhaustion after one fight. The leader agrees but notes that it is still impressive for someone so young to kill without hesitation. He adds that it is even stranger to see him resting so comfortably in a place filled with bodies. He then mentions seeing his sword glow, wondering if it could have been the legendary sword Kai. The men are amazed to learn that he used the famous Sanwoo 13 swords, a prestigious phantom sword technique. The leader is impressed by the power of a second-rate technique from such a well-known family. He feels ashamed of his own 20 years of accumulated energy, so Jin asks what cultivation method he uses. The man admits he only knows the 6 Harmonies cultivation method, as it was all he could get. Jin recognizes it as a common, third-rate method that can be easily found in any marketplace. He then surprises the man by saying that building 20 years of energy with such a basic method is actually quite impressive. The leader calls for his men to get going, his expression a mix of embarrassment and renewed determination. Jin watches them, seeing a reflection of his past self in a man whose efforts haven't paid off due to a lack of resources. The men lead their horses, their respect for the young master having grown immensely after the battle. The young warrior sits in quiet contemplation, a new plan forming in his mind as they prepare to leave. After days of continuous running and training, the group finally arrives at the entrance to Yunnan province. Finally, after 9 long days of travel, the group arrives at a proper inn, much to everyone's relief. Jin generously offers to pay for a round of drinks. Celebrating their last day together as a group, the men cheer, praising him for his generosity and reaffirming their belief in him. He smiles, happy to share a final meal with the men who have accompanied him on his difficult journey. Later, they are all sitting around a table, sharing drinks and stories from their travels. One of the warriors mentions that he plans to return home to his wife and children after this job is finished. Another man teases him, saying that wandering warriors shouldn't have families to tie them down. As they are joking, the innkeeper announces the arrival of a beautiful young lady. Jin and the others turn to see who it is, and one of the men recognizes her from their journey. The young lady Cheong Yin walks into the inn, her expression calm and composed as always. She glances around the room, her eyes briefly meeting those of the men at the table. The escort immediately recognizes her as the kind lady who offered Jin a handkerchief on the road. One of the men nudges Jin, excitedly pointing out that young lady Cheong Yin has arrived. He stands up and waves enthusiastically, calling out to her and remarking on the coincidence of their meeting. He eagerly invites her to join them at their table, clearing a space for her to sit. He then laughs nervously, realizing she has already taken a seat before he even finished his invitation. The men welcome her warmly, offering her a drink and asking if she would like to order some food. She politely declines the food for now, her expression thoughtful, as she seems to consider something. Then, to everyone's surprise, she announces that she is also thinking of volunteering for the front lines. Jin is completely stunned by her statement, unable to believe what he has just heard. The young lady covers her mouth, trying to find the right words to explain her sudden decision. Jin finds it hard to believe, knowing that even renowned warriors are reluctant to go to such a dangerous place. He asks her directly why she would want to volunteer for the front lines, but she remains silent. Changing the subject, he notes that she seems to have lost a lot of weight since they last met. He laughs and explains that it's because he has been training, and she agrees that he has become quite slim. One of the escorts chimes in, praising the young master for his incredible hard work during their journey. He adds that since losing weight, the young master has become quite handsome, and Jin proudly agrees. The young lady then excuses herself, saying she needs to step out for a moment and leaves the table. She walks away from the group, her expression unreadable, as she heads toward a quieter part of the inn. The men at the table resume their cheerful conversation, inviting Jin to have another drink. He happily accepts, enjoying the camaraderie and the brief moment of relaxation after their long journey. Alone in a quiet clearing outside, the young lady lets out a sigh of relief, finally able to be by herself. She quietly admits to herself that she found the young master's slimmed down appearance to be quite cute. His new look reminded her of her treasured doll, a small teddy bear she calls Dumpling. She recalls the impressive move he used against the bandits and the intriguing details she learned about his past. All of these things had stimulated her curiosity, drawing her to him in a way she hadn't expected. She also remembers his waddling appearance and his almost unrealistic lack of stamina. She felt she couldn't just leave him to be killed by the demons of the blood cult. It was her duty, as a witness to his hidden cuteness, to protect him from the dangers ahead. That was the real reason she had followed him all the way to this inn. But she struggles to find the right way to tell him. She decides that since he is no longer weak, there is no reason for her to go to the front lines anymore. With her mind made up, she plans to head back home the next day, her mission to protect him now complete. But as she is walking through the woods, a sudden noise startles her, and she lets out a terrified scream. She draws a thin, like sword, her body tense as she frantically calls out for help. An unseen force rushes past her, and she falls to the ground, wondering what kind of monster it could be. A massive, shadowy figure with a red aura looms over her, its muscular form promising a deadly fight. The creature attacks with incredible speed, and she realizes with a jolt of fear that it has no intention of defending itself. Seeing an opening, she tightens her grip on her sword, preparing to end the fight with a single, decisive strike. She unleashes a powerful flurry of slashes, her blade glowing with a bright blue energy as it cuts through the air. To her utter shock, the creature easily deflects her attack with its bare hands, completely unharmed. The shadowy figure leaps into the air, its body radiating a dark and menacing energy as it prepares to strike. It lands a powerful blow, sending her flying backward with a cry of pain. The creature then unleashes a strange, expanding energy wave, forcing her to brace for the impact. She manages to block the attack, but the force of the blow still sends her skidding across the ground. As the dust settles, she looks up in disbelief, wondering what kind of monster she is facing. The creature's shadowy form dissipates, revealing a muscular man with a strange, stitched-up mouth. He lets out a primal scream and charges forward again, his eyes glowing with a menacing red light. She readies her glowing blue sword, preparing to meet his ferocious assault with her own power. She unleashes a series of rapid slashes, but the man easily parries each one with his bare hands. She is completely stunned, her arm trembling from the force of his blocks, unable to comprehend his immense power. Suddenly, one of the escorts who had been standing guard rushes back, shouting about the commotion. He tries to intervene, but the muscular man grabs the young lady, using her as a shield. The guard's sword shatters against the creature's incredibly tough skin, the impact jarring his arm. He stares at his broken blade in disbelief, stunned by the man's unnatural durability. The creature then brutally attacks the escort, who is now defenseless against the powerful assault. It grabs the young lady from behind, its massive hand covering her mouth to stifle her screams. With a cruel grip, it forces her to watch as it prepares to finish off the fallen guard. The creature lets out a sinister laugh, its eyes glowing with a terrifying red light as it savors the moment. The young lady watches in horror, her eyes wide with fear as she is held captive by the monster. Just as the creature is about to strike, a flash of light cuts through the air, hitting it directly in the chest. The powerful blow sends the creature stumbling backward, its head snapping back from the force of the impact. Jin and the other escorts arrive just in time, and he rushes to the young lady's side to see if she is okay. One of the men cries out in anguish, seeing that his fellow escort, Yang Ga, has been killed in the fight. Jin tells everyone to get back inside the inn, but the men are hesitant to leave their fallen comrade behind. The creature lets out another enraged scream and charges toward the group with renewed ferocity. Jin quickly pulls the young lady behind him, shielding her from the monster's relentless attack. He meets the creature's charge head on, their blades clashing in a shower of sparks and red energy. He shouts for everyone to get back inside the inn, his expression grim as he recognizes the formidable enemy. The young lady, still in shock, looks at her torn sleeve, a grim reminder of how close she came to death. She stares at the monster with a mix of fear and confusion, trying to comprehend the nightmarish situation. The young lady looks on with wide-eyed terror, completely frozen by the sudden and brutal attack. The monster attacks with a powerful red slash, but Jin quickly moves to shield the young lady from the blow. It lets out a furious roar, its muscular body glowing with a dark and menacing energy. Jin pulls the girl down to the ground, covering her mouth and gesturing for her to remain completely silent. The creature looms over them, its dark aura pulsing as it slowly scans the immediate area. He then notices that the strange man has been keeping his eyes closed this entire time. The young lady realizes with dawning horror that the monster's vision must be severely impaired. She clings to him in fear, asking if he is all right as the creature stands menacingly nearby. A wide, terrifying grin spreads across the monster's face, its stitched mouth stretching open. It suddenly turns and rushes back toward the inn, and Jin realizes the other people are in grave danger. Inside, the inn is in complete chaos as the monster attacks, and a child has been caught in the fight. One of the escorts lies dead on the floor as the patrons scream in terror, calling it a monster. Jin and the girl watch in horror as the creature targets another one of his men. The monster rampages through the room, cutting down anyone who stands in its path. It grabs a guard's sword with its bare hands, and the man stares in shock, wondering where it came from. The terrified guard trembles, pleading for his life as the creature's grip tightens. Just as the monster raises its hand for a final blow, Jin leaps forward to intervene. He blocks the attack, sending the guard flying backward to safety while confronting the creature directly. The escort leader tells him to retreat, but Jin shouts for everyone to be quiet, standing his ground. The other guards panic, with one calling for the authorities while another cries out to be saved. The young warrior knows this is a terrible situation and that they must silence the monster somehow. The creature declares that no one will survive the night as it crouches among the wreckage. The escort leader watches in terror, realizing the monster is preparing to attack them again. In a desperate move, Jin suddenly runs across the room, letting out a loud cry to draw its attention. He quickly grabs the edge of a large tablecloth, pulling it with all his might. With a powerful heave, he flips the entire table, sending dishes crashing to the floor with a loud noise. Enraged by the sound, the monster whips its head around and screams for everyone to be quiet. Now that he has its full attention, Jin stands ready, facing the creature in the middle of the room. His escorts watch nervously, unsure of what the young master is planning to do. The young lady watches the scene unfold, her expression a mix of concern and curiosity. Jin stands beside a small stool, his gaze fixed on his blind and powerful opponent. He places his hand firmly on the wooden seat, gauging its weight and position. With a swift kick, he sends the stool sliding across the floor in the opposite direction. The monster immediately turns its head, its senses tracking the sound of the moving stool. The escort leader quickly covers his companion's mouth, understanding the need for absolute silence. The panicked man struggles for a moment, his eyes wide with fear, before realizing the plan. Jin looks around desperately, searching for another object he can use to create a distraction. Suddenly, the young lady leaps high into the air, her body glowing with a brilliant blue aura. She lands a powerful kick directly on the side of the monster's head, the impact echoing through the inn. After delivering the blow, she gracefully flips away, creating distance from the stunned creature. She lands in a low crouch on the floor, her eyes fixed on her opponent as she prepares for its reaction. The young lady rushes forward, her eyes filled with a fierce and unwavering determination. She unleashes a series of rapid slashes, her glowing blade moving too fast for the creature to block. As she fights, she yells at Jin, urging him to quickly explain the situation to the others. He shouts that the monster only identifies people by sound, telling everyone to be completely silent. The terrified escorts immediately cover their mouths, trying their best not to even breathe too loudly. Jin knows that simply staying quiet will not be enough to defeat such a powerful enemy. He warns that if the creature cannot hear, it will start using its sense of smell to hunt them down. To counter this, he needs to act first, and finds a way to properly draw the monster's attention. He spots a bowl filled with strings of coins, realizing it is the perfect tool for his plan. He knows he must act quickly while the creature is still distracted by the young lady's assault. She looks over in surprise, momentarily confused by what the young warrior is doing. He holds a bottle of alcohol and some food, putting a finger to his lips to signal for her silence. The scene is a tense standoff, with the young lady keeping the monster occupied as Jin prepares his trap. His plan is to first get the creature's attention by using the sound of the coins. He throws the strings of coins, expecting the simultaneous sounds to confuse the monster and immobilize it. While it is disoriented by the noise, he will then have a chance to approach it undetected. As the coins clatter, the monster stops and turns, trying to pinpoint the source of the sound. An escort watches in shock as a piece of pottery shatters on the floor nearby from the commotion. The plan works perfectly, and Jin manages to get right behind the distracted creature without a sound. He knows he cannot afford to make a single mistake, as one touch from the monster would be fatal. He carefully places his hands on the creature's neck, holding his breath as he gets into position. But at that critical moment, a loud hiccup escapes from his mouth, shattering the tense silence. The sound echoes through the room, and even one of the terrified escorts hiccups in a panic. The monster's ear twitches as it instantly hones in on the sudden noise, its body tensing. It slowly turns its head to face him, and the young warrior freezes, his eyes wide with sheer terror. His heart pounds in his chest as he realizes his carefully laid plan has just gone horribly wrong. The creature leans in close, sniffing the air as it begins to use its nose to pinpoint his exact location. Frozen in place, the young warrior stares as the monster leans in, its stitched mouth inches from his face. His heart pounds in his chest, realizing his crucial mistake has put him in mortal danger. The creature's eyes remain closed as it inhales deeply, trying to pinpoint his exact location by scent. The escorts can only watch in horror, completely paralyzed with fear as the hulking figure looms over their young master. But the young lady refuses to stand by, her expression hardening as she prepares to intervene. With a burst of speed, she charges forward, her glowing blade aimed directly at the distracted monster. He knows he is trapped with no escape and must act now or die. In a desperate life or death gamble, he moves his hands from its neck to its face. He forces the monster's eyelids open, revealing its bloodshot, unseeing eyes in a sudden, jarring move. The creature lets out a deafening scream of pain and surprise, stunning the young lady who watches in disbelief. He then drives his head forward, landing a powerful headbutt directly on the monster's face. As it stumbles back, he climbs onto its shoulders and forces its mouth open, aiming for its only vulnerability. She immediately understands his plan. The monster's body is impenetrable, but the inside of its mouth is not. Knowing this is their only chance, she tightens her grip on her sword, preparing to strike. A brilliant blue aura erupts around her as she channels her energy into her blade for a decisive blow. She leaps high into the air, positioning herself directly above the restrained creature. With all her strength, she plunges her glowing sword straight down into the monster's open mouth. The blade pierces through its flesh, exiting from the back of its neck in a fatal strike. She struggles to hold the hilt, the force of the impact jarring her body as the creature thrashes. In a final, desperate act, the monster's hands reach up to grab the blade lodged deep within its throat. He moves to her side, placing his hands over hers on the hilt of the sword embedded in the creature. With combined strength, they both push down, driving the blade deeper to finish the job. The monster's hand, which was clawing at the blade, finally goes limp and thuds onto the floor. With the creature finally dead beneath them, the chaotic battle comes to an abrupt and silent end. They remain there for a moment, catching their breath in the aftermath of the intense fight. The surviving escorts can only watch, their faces a mixture of shock, relief, and awe. By the next morning, a serene light breaks over the distant mountains, signaling a new day. Two of the surviving escorts kneel on the ground, their heads bowed in grief for their fallen comrades. In the courtyard, the bodies of the dead are lined up, covered respectfully with white cloths. The three remaining guards stand by, their expressions somber as they mourn their loss. One of the escorts turns his head, noticing the young warrior approaching them. The man asks if he is leaving now, and the youth confirms, explaining he needs to hurry. The escort leader sincerely wishes him safe travels and the best of luck on his journey ahead. Shaking his hand, the young man returns the sentiment, wishing them health and success in their plans. He then mentions he originally prepared 5 volumes of something, but will only be giving out 3. From within his robes, he produces a small stack of 3 bound books tied together. The escort leader is confused, but the youth explained is a cultivation technique better than their current one. His eyes widen in shock as he hears it's the legendary preservation heart method. The young man adds that he also included a few sword forms he knows, noting they should help. He silently recalls that this valuable method was obtained for him by Seal Pung in his past life. He remembers how this technique allowed him to reach 60 years of internal ki in under a decade, a truly first-rate method. The escort leader is stunned, asking why he would do all this for them and how they could ever repay such a great deed. The young man smiles, stating they fought for their lives together, making them friends, and the books are no longer of use to him anyway. Holding the books, the leader looks at him with deep gratitude and offers a sincere thank you on behalf of his men. Announcing that he must go, the youth turns to leave, explaining any more delay will cost him a full day of travel. He hopes they meet again as first-rate martial artists, and the escort vows to achieve that level and visit him to celebrate. As the two walk away from the inn, the 3 remaining guards watch them depart in respectful silence. While they walk, the young lady comments that he is a peculiar man, as she has never seen a martial artist give techniques to outsiders. He replies with a smile that it does not matter, since the techniques are not secrets of the Sanwu clan. His tone turns serious as he asks if she truly intends to go to the front lines, warning her of the countless monsters and the danger. She looks toward the mountains, saying she has thought about it and believes it is the right thing for her to do. She recalls the brutal fight from the night before, explaining that countless monsters like that exist at the front. This means people are fighting for their lives against such creatures at this very moment, a reality she cannot ignore by going home. She states firmly that she did not learn martial arts to live a sheltered life, and her father always taught her to stand proud. Turning to him, she asks if he views her as just a lady or as a fellow martial artist. He clenches his fist, realizing he senses no hesitation in her words, and that he had wrongly seen her as an immature girl. With a formal salute, he admits he has misjudged her profound conviction and offers his deepest apology. The young lady smiles, accepting his apology, and noting that he is a man who truly knows how to admit his mistakes. He returns the gesture with a faint smile, a moment of mutual respect passing between the two warriors. They finally arrive at their destination, the Great Blummen Cult battlefield in Yunnan, a place known as Zhonglang. In the forest, a man gasps in pain as a blade pierces his stomach from behind, held by a sinister, smiling attacker. A woman cries out as she is taken hostage, seeing her companion dead on the ground while a cultist mocks the fallen man. It is a full-scale ambush by the blood demon cult's twin Sai the Seven Misfortunes, who emerge from the trees to surround their prey. The leader, G-Mac, holds a woman captive, sneering as he asks if the dead man was her lover, promising she will soon forget him. His brother, Gu Yajil, grabs another woman, crudely commenting on her appearance before G-Mac tells him to focus. Amidst the chaos, a bright red flare shoots into the sky, a desperate signal for reinforcements. One of the cult members spots the signal being launched by a fleeing woman in the distance. Another cultist notices the flare, warning his comrades that they will be facing trouble soon. Their leader orders them to capture one more woman before they retreat, and the group leaps down from the trees to attack. On the ground, a squad of female warriors quickly forms a defensive formation, their swords drawn and ready for battle. A cultist attacks with a powerful Sai the Swing, which is met by a warrior's blade in a shower of sparks. The women fight hard, telling each other to hang on, because their squad leader will be there soon. One of the warriors struggles, her sword straining to block the heavy, curved blade of an enemy's weapon. Jayamak laughs, mocking their efforts as he asks if they really think their meager defense is enough to stop him. The female warriors are heavily outnumbered, parrying attacks from all sides as the cultists press their assault. The woman leading the defense breathes heavily, her face showing the immense strain of the desperate battle. Suddenly, the cult leader's mocking expression vanishes as he looks up, sensing a new presence. A lone figure soars through the air high above the forest canopy, heading directly for the battlefield. This is Mai Yujime, the fourth squad leader of the 13 Soaring Dragon Corps, known as the Diankang Hawk. The embattled warriors see him arrive, their faces lighting up with relief, as they joyfully shout that their squad leader is here. The cult leader panics at the squad leader's arrival, but quickly orders his men to handle the others while he fights the newcomer. Wielding his twin scythes, the man confidently prepares to face the formidable Diankang Hawk alone. The squad leader descends with incredible speed, unleashing a powerful attack that the cultist barely manages to evade. He watches as his purple energy slash narrowly misses its target, his gaze remaining fixed on his opponent. Their weapons finally meet in a deafening clash, the impact sending a powerful shockwave through the air. The cultist is visibly surprised, his face contorting from the sheer force behind the squad leader's strike. With another swift and powerful swing, the hawk sends his opponent flying backward, crashing hard onto the ground. The man digs his scythes into the earth to stop his momentum, quickly regaining his footing for the next exchange. Just then, one of his subordinates cries out, warning him that another powerful opponent has arrived on the scene. A woman appears on a tree branch above, identified as Tang Yeoun from the Tang clan's Sword Peak. She looks down at the chaotic scene below with a calm and composed expression, ready to join the fight. The cult leader grits his teeth in frustration, realizing the situation has just become far more dangerous. Taking advantage of the momentary distraction, the squad leader lunges forward to press his attack. Their blades clash once more, locking the two warriors in a fierce, high-speed duel. The Diankang Hawk's expression is one of pure focus as he continues his relentless assault. Their fight is a blur of motion, with steel and energy clashing repeatedly across the battlefield. The cult leader grabs a hostage, ordering his brother to capture their main target and retreat while he holds the line. Following their leader's command, the remaining cultists leap toward the woman from the Tang clan. She watches them approach with an unfazed expression, seemingly unimpressed by their numbers. But instead of fighting, she gracefully leaps away into the trees, forcing them to give chase. She leads the cultists on a chase through the forest, drawing them deeper into the winding path. A confident smirk plays on her lips, revealing that this retreat is all part of a larger plan. One of the cultists struggles to keep up, burdened by the unconscious woman he carries on his shoulder. His eyes narrow with determination as he forces himself to push forward, refusing to fall behind. Suddenly, a warrior drops from the trees, launching a surprise attack on the man carrying the hostage. Her glowing green blade slices cleanly through the cultist's side, forcing him to drop his captive. He lets out a cry of pain, stumbling from the unexpected and debilitating blow. The warrior catches her fallen comrade, reassuring her that she will unlock her Kai flow soon. The cult leader is stunned, recognizing another powerful opponent as the Diankang dragon Sagunal. As more warriors descend from the sky, he screams in fury, realizing they have walked right into a trap. The woman from the Tang clan mockingly asks if the foolish demonic leaders have only just noticed. She immediately engages another cultist, her sword clashing against his side with incredible force. The wounded leader curses at her, while his subordinate warns him to look up at the new arrivals. They watch in horror as their men on the path below are completely surrounded by the dragon corpse. A calm and imposing figure appears among them, the 13th Soaring Dragon Corps captain, Feng Yang. The captain attacks without hesitation, unleashing a massive, overwhelming wave of red energy from his sword. The cultist brother screams the captain's name in terror, as the powerful attack engulfs him completely. Elsewhere, the vice squad leader lands safely on a tree branch, having rescued her fellow warrior. She looks down at the battlefield, where the cultists are being systematically taken down by her allies. Captain Feng Yang stands poised, his single powerful strike having turned the tide of the entire battle. Another warrior effortlessly cuts through the demonic cultists, his blade glowing with a brilliant golden energy. He is Han Josung, the first squad leader, who dryly comments that they woke him from a pleasant dream. The cult leader's face drains of color as he recognizes the legendary Azure Gust Sword Dragon. His brother urges him to run, and the leader reluctantly retreats, vowing that he will not forget this defeat. But Sagunal appears in their path, coldly informing them that they are not going anywhere and will meet their end here. The cult leader desperately tries to escape as the Diankang dragon leaps through the air to intercept him. Sagunal's blade slashes the man's arm, but the wounded leader grits his teeth and continues to flee, screaming threats. The remaining members of the Seven Misfortunes follow their leader, disappearing into the dense forest. In the quiet aftermath, Captain Feng Yang stands beside Han Josung as the sound of sobbing fills the air. A warrior weeps over the body of his fallen comrade, crying out his name in grief and begging him to wake up. At that moment, squad leader Ma Yujayim arrives with another man, asking what has happened. Without warning, he grabs the newcomer by the collar, furiously demanding to know why he, Seal Peng, arrived so late. He shouts that if Seal Peng had been on time, they could have defeated at least one more of the Seven Misfortunes. Seal Peng looks down with a heavy heart, apologizing and explaining that his own squad was also ambushed. Yujiam snaps, calling him an irresponsible bastard, and saying a lowly soldier should never have been made a leader. A female warrior steps between them, telling the 4th squad leader to stop, and that she will not tolerate insults toward her leader. She explains that the 7th squad fought 5 cunning spirits and a hidden spider spirit, losing 2 members in the process. UGM remembers that spider spirits are dangerous demonic creatures that grow stronger by absorbing the essence of people. The vice squad leader reminds him that such creatures must be slain immediately upon discovery, a fact he is well aware of. He scoffs dismissively but falls silent, the tension between him and the exhausted Seal Peng remaining thick in the air. The vice leader angrily confronts Yu Gyeam, demanding that he immediately apologize to her squad leader. Seal Peng tells her to stop, gently reminding her that Yu Gyeam also just lost a squad member, but she retorts that they did as well. He simply smiles, trying to reassure his subordinate that he is okay, and she does not need to defend him. She looks down in silence, her expression filled with concern and frustration over how her leader is being treated. The woman from the Tang clan bluntly tells Seal Peng that his soft nature is the reason Yujiam walks all over him, making things harder on his squad. He can only laugh nervously in response, while she sighs with her arms crossed, clearly exasperated by his passive attitude. Sagunal steps intermediate, placing a hand on Seal Peng's shoulder and apologizing for UDM. Seal Peng says he understands. Han Jo-sung turns to the captain, asking if the new recruits are supposed to arrive that day. The captain walks away, stating it will take time for them to be useful, but their arrival is a relief nonetheless. Meanwhile, the young warrior from the inn finally arrives, silently hoping the new recruits will manage to survive for a while. The story moves to the Yunnan Blood Demon Cult Front's second headquarters, a large and imposing structure under a clear sky. Inside, an official leads a small group into a waiting room, informing them that the vice commander will arrive soon. A lone girl waits separately. A young man with long hair observes the girl, thinking she must be the last person to enlist. He muses that some things never change. His companion addresses him as young master, asking if the 13th squad is so young because all the veteran warriors have died. The young master confirms this seems to be the case, adding that the entire Flying Dragon Corps is getting younger, not just the 13th squad. He recalls from a past life that the 13th squad was always the youngest, with only its commander and vice commander being older warriors. His companion is shocked by this, realizing the squad is mostly filled with young people who are forcibly conscripted. At that moment, the girl who was waiting alone approaches them, asking why veteran warriors do not volunteer to join. The young master explains it's because there is no fame or profit to be gained, a concept that seems to confuse the girl. He elaborates that events on the front lines are kept secret. Achievements and deaths go unrecognized, leaving only danger without honor. Their conversation is suddenly cut short when an older man clears his throat to get their attention. The man introduces himself as Hyan Young Bo, the vice commander of the 13th squad of the Flying Dragon Corps. He confidently assumes they have heard of him, while the young master silently thinks it is good to see the man and decides to play along. However, the young master's female companion bluntly says she has never heard of him and asks if he was famous. The vice commander dismisses her, claiming many masters are forgotten due to secrecy oaths, and that she simply lacks knowledge. The girl continues to press him, saying she knows most peak-level masters and directly asking if he is one of them. The vice commander's face begins to twitch, clearly irritated by her relentless and challenging questions. Nearby, the young master tries to hide his laughter, thinking she has hit the man's weak spot. The older man clenches his fist in frustration. Annoyed, the vice commander quickly changes the subject, stating they must hurry to assign squads and gather the captains. He then unrolls a scroll and begins to read, calling out the first name, Soundwoo Jin, the third son of the Soundwoo family. The vice commander's tone softens, acknowledging the importance of the Soundwoo family name as he glances at the young master. He then continues reading the list, calling for Cheon Juan, the daughter of Cheon Ga Sang, one of the Guzo Four Masters. The pink-haired girl who had questioned him earlier seems startled, recognizing the Guzo Four Masters as an evil faction. The young master glances at her, thinking it is indeed strange for a member of an evil faction to volunteer for the Martial Alliance. The vice commander turns his attention to the blue-haired girl, asking if she is from the evil faction since her file lists no family or school. The young master internally notes this is incorrect. He remembers Lady Joj calling her Cheong Yain, but her true identity is something else. The blue-haired girl simply confirms that her name is Cheong Yain, her expression calm and unwavering. The official then declares that people with unclear identities are forbidden from volunteering for the front lines. Soundwoo Jin finds this statement absurd, since the identity of the 7th Squad's own Captain Seolpung is a complete mystery. The vice commander argues that his squad, the 13th, has strict rules, and no exceptions are allowed. He gives the girl a choice, either reveal her family and school immediately, or apply to a different Flying Dragon Corps. At that moment, the young master intervenes, explaining that Cheong Yayan is a close friend of Lady Juj Soil of Heaven's Gift Sword Peak. The vice commander's face pales as he hears she is connected to the precious daughter of the Martial Alliance's military strategist. Stuttering, he asks why a lady of her status would come to the front. The young master casually says he does not know her reasons. He then adds with a laugh that it is likely related to high-ranking members of the Alliance, hinting that it's above the vice commander's pay grade. The vice commander's face twitches with annoyance, realizing he has been completely outplayed and cannot refuse her now. After the tense meeting, the newly assigned members are guided out of the main building and toward their barracks. They arrive at a large, well-maintained building, which their guide introduces as the barracks for the 7th Squad. The young master looks at the structure with a heavy heart, murmuring that it looks exactly as he remembers it. He thinks back on the past 7 years, recalling the mix of happy and tragic moments he experienced within those very walls. He feels relieved that all his companions were assigned to the 7th Squad, hoping to avoid the 4th at all costs. The man guiding them warns that some squad members will try to haze the newcomers and hopes he will not get too hurt. The young master then recalls the cruel insults from his past, when he was called a disgrace and told to get lost. He remembers others telling him that even looking at his face was unlucky, and he questions if that could be considered mere hazing. Although he eventually endured it, the painful memory of being ostracized to the point of wanting to die still lingers. Walking down the familiar corridor, he reflects on how the thought of living here again brings back those difficult memories. The guide finally leads him to a room, opening the door to reveal the current members of the 7th Squad. 2 members greet him warmly. One of them jokes that the newcomer's build suggests he eats as much as him. However, a different group of men smirks from across the room, mockingly asking if a pig has just arrived. They continue their taunts, saying they did not expect a proper newcomer, considering who their captain is. San Woo Jin thinks their current reaction is much more acceptable than in the past, glad that he decided to lose weight. His guide formally introduces him as young Master San Woo Jin, the 3rd son of the prestigious San Woo family of Gizzo. The 3 men who were just mocking him now look surprised upon hearing the name of such a well-known family. They quickly recognize him as the infamous 3rd son, known for being a cripple who was beaten by his own sibling. One of them sneers that it must have been hard for a pig to lose so much weight. Hearing these insults, the guide's expression hardens, his eyes filled with silent anger at their behavior. The 2 friendlier squad members also appear tense and shocked by the cruelty of their squad mates' words. Despite the harsh taunts, the young master simply smiles, completely unfazed by their attempts to provoke him. He calmly approaches the leader of the bullies, greets him by his full name, Hamu Jin, and extends his hand. The bully is stunned that the newcomer knows who he is. San Woo Jin confirms it and immediately challenges him to a fight. Before Hamu Jin can react, San Woo Jin grabs him by the wrist, pulling him off balance. Without hesitation, he lands a powerful punch directly into the bully's stomach, the force of the blow echoing through the room. The impact sends Hamu Jin flying backward, but the young warrior maintains his grip, refusing to let go. Twisting his opponent's wrist, he uses the man's momentum to swing him around in a wide arc. He spins Hamu Jin through the air with incredible speed and strength, showcasing his surprising power. The young master then slams the bully headfirst into the wooden wall, the impact cracking the surface. Hamu Jin collapses to the floor, his eyes rolling back in his head, completely knocked out from the sudden and brutal attack. One of his stunned friends nervously asks San Woo Jin what he is doing, terrified by the display of violence. The young master just smiles, asking what he is doing and reminding the man that they were the ones who called him a cripple. Enraged, the other bully clenches his fists and calls the young man a bastard, ready to retaliate. San Woo Jin simply stares back, thinking this should be enough of an example. He considers beating up the other bullies too. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps interrupts the tense standoff, drawing everyone's attention to the doorway. A new figure enters the room, and the young master immediately recognizes the voice of the newcomer. A smile spreads across his face as he realizes the real boss of the squad has finally appeared. A man with green hair and a stern expression stands in the doorway, demanding to know what is going on. He looks down at the newcomer and the unconscious man on the floor, his gaze sharp and questioning. The green-haired man repeats his question, his voice calm but firm, clearly in a position of authority. San Woo Jin maintains his cheerful demeanor, inwardly acknowledging that the situation has just escalated. He cracks his knuckles, preparing himself for the next confrontation that is about to unfold. He greets the newcomer as senior, introduces himself, and explains that he has just joined the 7th squad. He cheerfully explains that they called him a pig and a cripple, so he simply returned their friendliness in kind. The green-haired man introduces himself as Ju Tae, Jiang of the Point Spear Sect, his tone serious and unamused. The young master realizes that, just as he expected, Ju Tae, Jiang is not picking a fight due to his pride in his sect. He knows that Ju Tae Jiang, also known as the Point Spear Sword Viper, is a disciple from one of the 9 great sects. However, this pride also made him a toxic presence in the squad, unable to accept being under an unknown captain and always causing trouble. San Woo Jin clenches his fist, remembering his first love who died because of this man. He vows it will not happen again. For now, he knows he is too weak to handle Ju Tae Gyeong, who is likely at a mid-first-rate martial level. He decides there is no need to rush and turns to his guide, asking if they should all have dinner to introduce themselves. Ju Tae Gyeong grits his teeth in annoyance at being ignored, clearly not used to being treated with such casual disrespect. San Woo Jin simply glances back at him, thinking that the man is a bastard, yet his plan is already in motion. He turns to Ju Tae Jiang with a smile, saying he remembers him now and has heard rumors about the Point Spear Sword Viper. Hearing the nickname Ju Tae, Jiang's expression darkens, and he places his hand on the hilt of his sword. The young master feigns innocence, asking if Point Spear Sword Viper is not his nickname, pretending that is what he understood. Enraged, Ju Tae Jiang draws his sword, telling the newcomer that he researched carelessly and will now die for it. Saopeng, the guide, quickly steps in, asking Ju Tae Jiang what he is doing. The enraged warrior orders him to step aside. Saopeng tries to de-escalate the situation, suggesting the newcomer simply does not know any better and asking for forgiveness. He smiles calmly, trying to reason with his agitated squad mate, but his expression is firm. He warns Ju Tae Jiang that if he does not put the sword down, he will be crossing a line. Ju Tae Jiang scoffs, asking if Saopeng will really stop him from punishing a second-rate warrior who deceived a first-rate one. At that moment, San Woo Jin waves his hand with a laugh, cheerfully apologizing and admitting that he was rude. He adds that a first-rate warrior was acting carelessly towards their peak-level captain, so he assumed Ju Tae Jiang would not mind. The 2 friendly squad members burst out laughing, exclaiming that a real big shot has just joined their ranks. San Woo Jin continues to taunt him, saying it will be hard for Ju Tae Jiang to ever catch up to the captain's level. The green-haired warrior's face darkens with rage as the newcomer's words hit their mark, asking if he will take responsibility for his claims. The young man simply smiles and asks what Ju Tae Jiang will do if he can indeed back up his words. The proud warrior gives him a 3-month deadline, declaring that if the newcomer proves his claim, he will take his life as payment. San Woo Jin agrees, but asks what he will get if he wins. The other man scoffs, saying he will just die too. The young man dismisses this idea, saying they cannot let a precious comrade who is supposed to fight demons die so needlessly. Instead, he proposes that if he wins, Ju Tae Jiang will have to treat him as his older brother from that day forward. The proud warrior grits his teeth, clearly humiliated and enraged by the absurd and disrespectful condition. Despite his anger, he accepts the challenge, vowing to grant the newcomer's wish in 3 months. Ju Tae Jiang then turns to Saopeng, asking if he will also try to stop this duel, which he brought upon himself. He leans in close to the young master, telling him to struggle all he wants, because he will make him regret his words. As Ju Tae Jiang storms out of the room, he tosses a small, round object over his shoulder before leaving. The rest of the squad, including the bullies and the friendly members, quickly follows him out, eager to see what happens next. The 2 men who initially welcomed the newcomer laugh, saying how refreshing it is to see someone stand up to Ju Tae Jiang. San Woo Jin knows that Baisa Young is a disciple of a secret sect that fell due to a past tragedy involving Ju Tae Jiang's sect. The other man laughs, saying he liked the newcomer from the moment he saw him and felt they would get along well. San Woo Jin is surrounded by Baisa Young and Bai Zhongguan, remembering them as the close friends who died saving him in his past life. With tears in his eyes, he makes a silent vow that in this life, he will absolutely not let them die. Selpung approaches, asking if he will be alright and warning him that Jiang is not to be taken lightly. The young master just smiles and asks the captain to train him, declaring that he is prepared to be worked to death. He adds that since he is just a squad member now, the older captain should feel free to speak comfortably with him. The captain agrees with a smirk, warning the young man that since he asked for it, he will be worked until he wishes he were dead. Young warns him that he does not know what he is asking for, explaining that the captain's training is for peak-level masters. The young man smiles, thinking that he has already done it before. This time, he plans to share the good thing with his friends. He then turns to Young and playfully questions his confidence, saying he seemed like a real man at first glance. Provoked, Young shouts that there is no way he lacks confidence, claiming to be sure of himself in everything. He strikes a confident pose and declares that he will gladly join the training to prove his words. The muscular man, Beijong Guan, laughs and says he would like to join too, but he already has a grand dream of his own. He explains his goal is to crush demons with external martial arts trained to the extreme, leaving no time for other pursuits. Sanwu Jin's eyes light up with excitement, and he asks the senior if he could teach him those amazing external martial arts. The big man is caught off guard, blushing as he stammers and asks if the newcomer is serious about learning from him. Selpung reminds him that during the squad selection, Sanwu Jin mentioned wanting to see whose skin was harder, his or a demon's. Hearing this, Beijong Guan gets even more excited. The young master leans in, admitting it was a lie, but he does have a goal. He enthusiastically describes his dream of flying like a cannonball with a hardened body-to-body, slam and shatter demons. Beijong Guan looks mesmerized, imagining himself flying through the air to smash demons into pieces with his body. The young master continues, saying that if he could achieve that, people would give him cool nicknames like Iron God Matir. Beijong Guan repeats the names to himself, his eyes wide with excitement and a blush spreading across his face. Sanwu Jin smiles to himself, knowing his friend is completely hooked on the idea now. A simple but effective trap. The following day, the training begins deep within a lush, green forest. Captain Selpung leads the small group of new recruits, including the young master and his two friends, along a winding path. Young, wearing a weighted vest, proudly declares that this level of training is nothing for a disciple of his sect. Standing beside him, Sanwu Jin thinks that since he has already experienced this training, it should be a piece of cake. He confidently leaps onto a tree branch, telling his friends it is nothing much, and that he will go on ahead. However, as soon as his foot touches the branch, it snaps under his weight, and he lets out a cry of surprise. Beijong Guan, perched on a branch above, calls out in concern, asking if his new friend is all right. The young master crashes to the forest floor, landing hard on his back with the broken branch on top of him. Lying on the ground, he realizes with a groan that he did this training in his past life only after he had lost weight. A month passes, and the early morning light filters through the dense canopy of the forest. A hand, covered in dirt and trembling with exhaustion, grips the edge of a deep pit. Young hauls himself out, looking completely drained and worn out from the grueling training. It is revealed that in the past, after fleeing his fallen sect, he found himself in the same squad as a disciple from the Point Spear sect. The chief disciple of a secret sect was now in the same group as someone from the sect that caused his own downfall. He had not expected much when he revealed his origins, knowing it would be hard for a second-rate warrior to get an apology. He had hoped for at least some sign of guilt, but Zhang simply asked him, "So what?" The arrogant disciple then mocked him, asking if he was proud that his sect's elders died from their own greedy ambitions. Enraged, Young lost his composure and attacked, but the outcome of the fight was painfully obvious from the start. After that day, his life did not change much. He was still too weak to defeat even a single demon, let alone his arrogant squad mate. With his sect's internal cultivation method lost, he was left with no way to grow stronger. He felt powerless in an unfair world, his hands scarred from useless effort, but he refused to be pitied as a weakling. He drifted along without a goal, just another face in the squad, until one day everything changed. a seemingly crazy guy Sanwoo Jin, joined the 7th squad with a wide, confident smile. This newcomer, who was only at a second-rate level and did not look like a martial artist, clashed with Ju Tae, Jiyoung from day one. For some reason, this seemingly insane behavior was incredibly refreshing to the jaded Baisa. Young, he ended up falling for the newcomer's provocation, pretending to be annoyed while secretly eager to join the intense training. But the very next day, lying exhausted on the ground, he realized he had made a huge mistake and was going to die. He groans in regret, thinking that if he had just kept his mouth shut, he would not be suffering like this. Meanwhile, Captain Seolpung effortlessly leaps through the treetops, his movements light and swift despite the weighted vest. Baisa, Young, grits his teeth, frustrated that after a month, he can still barely keep up with the captain's pace. He pushes himself to his feet, determined not to give up, no matter how much it hurts. A cheerful voice calls out to him, breaking his concentration and making him look up in surprise. Sanwoo Jin, somehow full of energy, playfully asks if he is already frustrated after just a short time. He then laughs and says that at this rate, Baisa, Young might catch up to him soon, a clear taunt. The exhausted disciple glares at him, thinking he absolutely cannot lose to this guy, who is at the same level but carrying more weight. He is even more frustrated that the newcomer is learning his sect's secret movement technique so quickly. Just 3 days after the training started, Sanwoo Jin had approached him asking for help. In exchange, he had offered to teach him an internal cultivation method, recognizing the value of the secret movement technique. Fueled by this newfound rivalry, he pushes off the branch with renewed determination. He vows that he will not lose to that bastard, his eyes blazing with competitive fire. The squad's daily routine is intense. After the dawn sprint, they practice energy circulation, breath regulation, and weapons training. After their meal, the 3 men gather to practice external martial arts, pushing their bodies to the limit. In the evenings, the squad members take turns sparring with each other, honing their combat skills in friendly matches. The next day, the grueling cycle repeats, leaving them utterly exhausted but growing stronger. After another day of training, Sanwoo Jin and Bae Jong Guan return, greeted by the captain who notes their late arrival. A female squad member praises the young master, saying he is amazing for being better than he was yesterday. He laughs it off, saying it is nothing compared to the captain's strength, humbly deflecting the compliment. He then recalls young lady Nasio, Yu from his past life, who warmly embraced him when everyone else called him a pig. That was when he fell in love with her, even though he could never confess his feelings or prevent her tragic death. He clears his throat, pleased that everything is going smoothly. Thanks to the influence of the 2 young ladies, the squad is focused. Both Cheom Yan and the pink-haired girl meditate peacefully, fully dedicated to their training. Cheong Yan even surprised everyone by asking to join the external martial arts training, her competitive spirit shining through. As he trains, the young master's growth rate is incomparable to his past life, thanks to the primordial infinite arts. Baisa Young is also making incredible progress, with the new cultivation method giving him wings. Bae Jong Guan is learning the Diamond Indestructible Sect's cultivation method, balancing his internal and external training. This sect, focused on achieving true indestructibility, trains both the body and the mind in perfect harmony. However, the young master reveals that there is no such sect. He actually gave his friend a Shaolin cultivation method and embellished the story. He sits beside his friend, meditating peacefully, thinking that as long as the motivation and results are good. 2 months pass, and the squad meditates in a clearing. The young master knows a major incident is about to happen. He recalls that in his past life, around 50 liver ghosts suddenly attacked, overwhelming their forces. The flying dragon corpse, accustomed to fighting only a few at a time, suffered a catastrophe where an entire squad was annihilated. Though he does not know the exact cause, he remembers that from that incident onward, the situation at the front rapidly worsened. But with his current status, he can neither warn anyone about the future nor prepare for it himself. He sits in meditation, feeling an immense sense of frustration knowing what is coming but being powerless to stop it. Elsewhere in the forest, a different squad captain practices his sword skills with incredible speed and precision. He complains about his popularity with insects, as he effortlessly slices through a swarm of them. He wishes he were popular with women instead, swatting at the bugs that buzz around his face. With a frustrated grunt, he grits his teeth, annoyed by the persistent and unwelcome attention from the insects. He unleashes a flurry of sword strikes, his movements a blur as he cuts through the air with deadly accuracy. Every slash is precise, a testament to his exceptional skill as he continues his relentless practice. The swarm of insects falls to the ground, each one perfectly sliced in half by his masterful swordplay. His squad members watch in awe, praising his amazing 72-way sword rain dance technique, a basic skill for his sect. They marvel at their captain's skill, wondering how much more amazing the first squad captain, a renowned genius, must be. They compare their captain, nicknamed Swift Chaos Monkey, to the first squad captain, the Clear Wind Sword Dragon, and laugh. Their captain yells at them to be quiet, furiously denying that he has no humanity for reaching peak level in his 20s. One of the female members teases him, suggesting he should try dating the vice captain if he likes her so much. The captain shouts that he is not interested in the vice captain either, getting flustered by their endless teasing. Suddenly, his expression turns serious as he senses something approaching. He orders his squad to form a defensive formation, warning them that a large number of enemies are approaching. As they prepare for battle, one of his subordinates nervously notes that there seem to be far too many enemies. A massive horde of grotesque red-eyed liver ghosts emerges from the trees, charging toward them with terrifying speed. The captain immediately engages the creatures, shouting for his vice captain to send a signal for reinforcements. He cuts down several of the monsters with a single, powerful slash, his expression grim and focused. But as he fights, he notices something that makes him pause in shock and disbelief. He curses as he realizes the creatures are far more numerous and powerful than he anticipated, and he orders everyone to retreat. At that moment, 3 powerful blasts of energy erupt in the distance, signaling the presence of at least 3 mid-level demons. Warriors run desperately through the forest, trying to escape the overwhelming horde of monsters pursuing them. One of the squad members turns to face a charging ghost fiend, preparing to hold it off. The creature is relentlessly focused on its target, swinging a powerful clawed hand without hesitation. With sweat dripping down his face, the young man raises his sword to defend against the fierce attack. He manages to dodge the main blow, but the creature's arm still grazes him, tearing his sleeve. Before he can counter, the fiend catches his sword blade with its bare hand, stopping the weapon cold. The creature's glowing eyes fix on him, revealing the usual tactic is a 2-person feint. As the fiend is distracted, another warrior approaches from behind, ready to land a decisive blow. He drives his sword forward, aiming for the creature's unguarded back, while its attention is elsewhere. However, his confident expression quickly turns to one of pure shock and disbelief. The creature, without even looking back, has caught his sword hilt with its other hand, halting his attack. The warrior looks around in horror, realizing that more ghost fiends have now surrounded him. This is the first time the 6th squad has ever faced such a large number of these monsters. The standard tactics are failing, forcing each member to fight 2 or more ghost fiends alone. The captain shouts in frustration as the chaos spreads, his comrades being quickly overwhelmed. The squad's formation breaks completely, and cries for help echo through the dark woods. The creatures are brutal and efficient, falling upon any warrior who gets separated from the group. The captain desperately yells for his men to pull themselves together and hold their ground. His face is tense with grim determination as he tries to prevent the complete annihilation of his squad. As he focuses on the enemies in front, another fiend with glowing eyes lunges at him from behind. The creature's face contorts into a twisted grin as it closes in for the final blow. The captain looks back in shock, realizing his mistake too late as the monster attacks. He manages to block with his sword, but the battlefield is grim, with his comrades being overrun. Letting his sword fall from his grasp, he decides to rely on his fists instead. He pivots and throws a powerful punch, striking the creature squarely in the face. With fierce determination, he continues his assault, ignoring the other monsters around him. He lands another solid blow, sending the fiend reeling backward from the unexpected force. The captain follows through with a final, devastating punch that connects with the monster's jaw. Standing over the defeated creature, he takes a moment to catch his breath before facing the rest. The impact of his attack was so great that it sent several other nearby fiends stumbling back. He quickly realizes that the number of enemies is still far too great for his squad to handle. Determined to create an opening, he lets out a powerful shout, ready to make a final stand. At that moment, two warriors descend from the trees, shouting their attack names as they charge in. Elsewhere, Nasoyu and her companions stand with their swords drawn, watching the chaos unfold. Their eyes are fixed on a single figure who is fearlessly charging straight into the horde. The three women look on with expressions of pure shock, unable to believe what they are seeing. The young master's two friends, however, watch the scene unfold with confident smiles. San Wu Jin is now completely surrounded by the shadowy fiends, but he shows no fear. He quickly grabs one of the creatures. He then starts running, throwing the monsters aside. The captain recognizes the newcomers as the 7th team, realizing their arrival has created a path for retreat. He immediately turns and orders his own squad members to run away at full speed while they have the chance. The captain then urges the 7th team to retreat as well, warning them that the enemy's numbers are simply too much to handle. However, the young master's companion tells the captain not to worry, assuring him that they have a plan. With a wide grin, Baisa Young calls out to his senior brother, telling him that it is now his turn. The green-haired warrior reluctantly takes out a small knife and makes a cut across the palm of his hand. He mutters a curse under his breath, annoyed that he is being forced to go through with this crazy plan. Without any more hesitation, he swiftly approaches one of the unsuspecting ghost fiends. In a flash, he smears his own fresh blood directly onto the creature's face, marking it as a target. He continues this motion, darting through the horde and marking several other monsters with his blood. The scent of blood drives the creatures into a frenzy, and their eyes begin to glow with a menacing red light. With the entire horde now chasing him, he turns and runs while screaming curses at San Wu Jin. Captain Cheongwon sees that he is fast enough to avoid being caught, and his plan seems to be working. He tells his squad that other teams will arrive soon, so they should assist the 6th team and take down a few enemies. Feeling a renewed sense of hope, the captain cracks his knuckles and announces that he will take the lead. He then charges forward into the fray, telling his remaining squad members to follow him closely. A brief memory flashes, showing a powerful martial artist who is surrounded by a serene, glowing aura. San Wu Jin recalls his past life and the great tragedy that unfolded in this very forest. He remembers the powerful warriors who were present at the time. In his past, all he could do was encourage those around him. But in this new timeline, he never gave up on changing the future that he remembered. From the moment he returned, he spent every single day working hard and encouraging his friends. Today, the small changes he made through his layered efforts have finally started to bear fruit. The gap he created was just enough to save his comrades, who now laughed together in relief. The ghost fiend attack, which should have left only the captain as a survivor, ended with minimal casualties. A few days later, a small group of warriors walks through a forest clearing, heading toward a building. Baisa Young complains that even his clothes now smell like the awful medicine. Playfully elbowing his friend, he adds that if not for the ointment, onlookers would have rushed to join their training. San Wu Jin agrees, noting that many people have been watching their external training recently. After hearing Zhang Guan describe how they defeated the demons, they realized their arts were good. But once the onlookers witness the actual grueling training, most of them quickly decide to leave. However, there was one person who was genuinely interested and wanted to overcome the entry barrier. This enthusiastic young man was immediately blocked by his friends, who stopped him from joining. The young master just smiles, admitting that he honestly cannot say the training looks pleasant. At that moment, a group of women walks by, and the onlookers recognize them as members of the Dang family. One of the women, with flowing pink hair, carries herself with an impressive and elegant aura. Another woman, Miss Tang, also draws the attention of everyone present with her striking appearance. Tang Yon's beauty is so captivating that it seems as if the world turns dark and she becomes the only source of light. One of the onlookers admits that while he wants to claim his own Na Sioyo is the fairest, he thinks that to match Tang Yon's looks, one needs to be as handsome as Jagal Sioyo. A man approaches the group and introduces himself as Myong Sayan, the vice leader of the third squad. He admits that until now, he thought they were just wasting their time with their intense training. However, he now realizes their efforts were worthwhile and apologizes for looking down on them. He then whispers to San Woo Jin that he would honestly like to learn some physical training from them. As his squad leader calls for him, he tells the young master that his dear goddess might not be so enthusiastic. He points out that she is quite clingy and possessive, contrary to her looks, before saying goodbye. As the vice leader turns to leave, San Woo Jin calls out his name, causing him to pause. The young master hesitates for a moment, a bead of sweat running down his face as he tries to find the right words. He then changes his mind, simply wishing him well and hoping they can train together next time. Myong Sayan is bold enough to openly state he has fallen for Tang Yon and serves as her vice leader. Because she is too difficult to approach, he acts as the effective squad leader of the third team. However, the young master recalls that in his past life, this man died at the hands of the very woman he loved. Tang Yun was forced to kill him after her mind was taken over by the blood cult. Later, he realized she became the woman of Ma Yujium, the fourth squad leader. In her final moments, Yujium's betrayal drove her into complete and utter despair. San Woo Jin now understands that she was not the cold, perfect woman she appeared to be. Bai Sa Young asks if he's also interested in Tang Yun. He explains that steel spirits will appear soon and he needs her help, but his friend misunderstands. Bai Sa Young teasingly asks if he loves her so much, he would be satisfied with just a conversation. As the young master looks, his friend shouts that he is in love with Miss Tang. He frantically tries to explain that it is not what it looks like, saying he just needs to talk to her, but has no connections. Na Sioyu looks on, her expression unreadable as she considers the chaotic scene before her. The young master grits his teeth in frustration, realizing he has been completely misunderstood. That evening, as the sun sets, the squad prepares for their night patrol duty. The squad leader, Seal Peng, holds up his hand to halt their advance. Sensing something in the darkness, he notes that it is a chaotic spirit, and the tension of the night patrol immediately rises. As he steps forward, he explains that the demonic heads of the blood cult are dangerous even for peak masters. Suddenly, a monstrous creature lunges out of the darkness, letting out a terrifying scream as it attacks. But this squad has Seal Peng, who easily dodges the attack and leaps onto the creature's arm. With the situation handled, the squad leader calmly states that there are no more abnormalities. He has one crucial weakness, however, which becomes apparent as the female squad members praise him. He gets flustered by their compliments and awkwardly tells them to be on their way. It is revealed that squad leader Seal Peng has trouble with women, or more accurately, he fears them. The women of his squad smile knowingly, thinking that if it were not for his fear, he would be perfect. San Woo Jin remembers from his past life that the captain only overcame this fear after they lost someone. To prevent that from happening again, he knows he must take care of the one responsible for it. But everything comes back to Jut Jiang, the arrogant man who constantly undermines the captain. Bai Ziyang reminds him that his fight with the green-haired warrior is in just 2 weeks and asks if he can do it. The young master simply smiles and says he's trying his best. The captain then intervenes, speaking of his problem that it's his inner ki and that it takes years to become strong. She points out that San Woo Jin is a strange individual, as his mind has surpassed that of a first-class one. Bai Ziyang tells his friend to just let them in on his secret plan, since they are the only ones listening. The young master explains that he has an elixir from his father that will increase his ki by about 10 years. The captain correctly guesses that the elixir must have an issue with its purity, which is why he has not taken it. San Woo Jin confirms this, saying that if he consumed it, about half of his total Kai would be external. The female squad members are confused, asking what the men are talking about as they do not understand. Chiang-yan explains that if the external Kai in elixirs exceeds half the total, Kai deviation is more likely to occur. The young master clarifies that this is why he has been pushing back taking the elixir until the last moment. His original plan was to first gain pure Kai using his primordial arts, and then take the elixir safely. However, he now believes that at his current state, he can handle a first-rate opponent. Baizai Young laughingly admits he had no clue, having never used elixirs before in his life. The pink-haired girl's eyes light up with excitement, and she happily exclaims that they are in the same boat. Her companion blushes and clenches his chest, clearly flustered by her enthusiasm and closeness. Now, Na-Soyu mentions that they will be busy for a while, with San Woo-jin's fight and the upcoming meeting. He finds it strange, noting that he has been fighting on the front lines, but has never heard of such events. He remembers that the meeting in his past life occurred in the 13th Corps, and it was oddly peaceful. Baiza Young complains that it sickens him how the vice captain will suck up to his superiors during the meeting. He continues, saying that they will be told to clean everywhere and turn the whole place upside down. San Woo-jin asks his friend if he finds it strange that the risk of ki deviation is so high. He makes the scroll thinking about how the demonic sect remains alive. Baizai Young pauses for a moment, then thoughtfully agrees that his friend has a very good point. If the members of the blood cult primarily steal the ki of others, it creates a dangerous imbalance. The young master covers his mouth in thought, trying to piece together the puzzle of their power. His eyes narrow as he wonders how they manage to stay alive with such a high risk of QI deviation. Meanwhile, Jut Jiang trains intensely in a clearing while a man with long hair watches him. He lets out a powerful shout as he lunges forward, his movements filled with focused intensity. With a swift and precise motion, he thrusts his spear, demonstrating his growing martial skill. His attack is suddenly stopped as the other man, Mayugium, easily catches his foot, praising his progress. The man smiles, saying the green-haired warrior can now undoubtedly call himself an upper first-rate. Jut Jiang thanks him, but is told not to be satisfied with simply not losing to a second-rate opponent. He is ordered to demonstrate overwhelming power befitting his sect, and the proud warrior readily agrees. Ugm watches him, thinking that the newcomer needs to realize what kind of opportunity he threw away. His expression darkens as he vows that San Woo-jin will pay for having the audacity to refuse him. In a room, someone asks if it's true that inexperienced recruits defeated a chaotic spirit. Our boy then explains that Chiangyan defeated the demon, and he couldn't do anything because he was weak. But the other guy says it was our protagonist who distracted the creature and saved everyone's lives. Our boy. Then he goes on to say that he just followed what he was told to do and pierced the monster's mouth. A woman asks how he knew that spirits were weak against the light, and the young man says it was luck. A man with red eyes thinks like a second-rate warrior would risk his life against a demon. Seeing our hero laugh, the man thinks that he must have done a lot of research since little information is publicly available. With a smile, he decides there's no more room for hesitation and that it's worthwhile to train our boy. San Woo-jin explains that knowing about the weakness to light is different from forcing the monster's eyes open. The man with red eyes says he liked the rookie and will take him to the 4th squad. At that very moment, our protagonist desperately shouts that he will not accept the proposal. The other person is completely shocked and speechless by the protagonist's refusal. He then asks if the boy really doesn't want to join his team, and our hero becomes embarrassed. Our protagonist becomes nervous and looks away, unsure how to respond to the man. At that moment, he turns around and calls for Captain Seal Pong, who was sitting observing everything. Our hero says he's always wanted to join his squad ever since he researched the front lines and begs to be accepted. With that, the captain of the 7th Squadron is completely shocked and points to himself in disbelief at what he heard. San Woo-jin explains that he can destroy monsters even with the kai of a sword using only kicks and punches. Then he goes on to say with a smile that ever since he heard that, he knew he needed to learn from the captain. The leader of the 4th squad becomes furious and asks how he dares refuse him to join the 7th squad. He then reminds them that our hero is from the famous Soundwoo clan, but wants to join losers with useless martial arts skills. Hearing the insult against his future companions, our protagonist's fist clenches tightly, but he ignores the provocation and tells Silpong that he wants to learn physical arts to test his body against the demons. Hearing this, the captain stands up and grabs our boy's shoulder, saying that he has a great mentality. He then says he will train him so that his body surpasses that of demons, and our hero enthusiastically accepts. Seeing that he had been completely ignored, the leader of the other squad clenched his teeth in anger. With his arms crossed, the man stares furiously. At another point, he recalls the situation, and just the memory of what happened already makes him extremely angry. The man comments to Jae-jung about how well the rookie is doing, and that he should have used his influence to recruit him. He then says that he will make our protagonist pay for the audacity of refusing an offer from the son of the Diankang sect leader. The Diankang leader's son angrily says he will teach the newcomer the power of his sect and leaves. With a smile, Jae-jung agrees and says that they should teach our hero a proper lesson. He thinks to himself that he has no intention whatsoever of letting alive someone who has insulted him. But the rejected leader interrupts him and tells him not to exaggerate or cripple the boy. Jae-jung is shocked by the request and asks if the other wouldn't eliminate a fellow fighter. Stuttering, the man says no, but that they really need to teach the boy a lesson. Then the sect leader's son uses his energy to frighten the boy. He then reminds Jae-jung that their mission is to fight the blood cult and reclaim the mountain. And for this reason they must cooperate even with the scum, so they must not attack a direct comrade. The leader says he trusts that he won't do something so stupid. After all the conversation, the man seems quite irritated. Elsewhere, a woman asks someone to look directly into her eyes. Seeing that San Woo Jin cannot look her in the eye, she concludes that he is not under mind control. Two teammates laugh and say that being controlled might even help him get married. The other boy gets all flustered and shouts that he simply doesn't feel the need to talk to girls. The teammate laughs and asks if he really doesn't feel anything when talking to girls. Then the woman calls the next person in line, and the boy in blue seems quite reluctant to go. They are checking if any of the male members of the squad have been bewitched by any magic. This is because the 10th body had an incident where a member was bewitched and captured. From time to time, some people fall under the influence of the blood cult, and it is a big problem. And the worst part is that they still haven't discovered a way to break the mind control of this cult. The woman then asks the young man to look her in the eyes, and he becomes very nervous at the request. She explains that he needs to maintain eye contact and not just glance at her. With a smile, Captain Silpong asks what happened to the courage he once had. The boy, blushing deeply, says that this proves he wasn't bewitched and asks her opinion. The woman agrees and says that since he can't look her in the eye, she thinks he's fine. It is possible to tell if someone has been controlled just by looking into their eyes. As the light fades, this task of identifying irregularities is assigned to women like Chiang Yin. Next, the woman announces that it is now Soundwoo's turn to take the test. He blushes but says that if he wanted to, he could do this all day without any problem. One of his companions laughs and wishes him good luck, saying, "Let's see how confident our hero really is." Sanwoo thinks this is a rare chance to look into her eyes and decides to take a good look at her face. He then realizes that she has a compassionate smile and a face that could heal any heart. Just that thought makes Soundwoo blush completely, and he starts smoking. His teammates burst into laughter and ask how a human face can get so red. The woman then says that she doesn't even need to check his eyes, because he seems to be worse than the squad leader. Sanwoo panics and desperately begs her to check his eyes anyway. Seeing his reaction, the woman apologizes for provoking him and tells him not to push himself so hard. But Sanwoo cries comically, because it was his only opportunity to face her as much as he wanted. At that point, one of the boys asks the vice leader if she also checked Chiang Yin's eyes. Sanwoo looks at the others who are talking. Sanwoo thinks he's never seen her face completely, and that she said she has a scar. But even with that excuse, he still feels that the girl is hiding something else from him. The vice leader then reveals that she has already seen her face, and that she has no choice but to hide it. She then explains that if Chiang Yin didn't hide her face, it would cause enormous confusion. Sanwoo is confused as to why the girl with blue hair would need to hide her face. Captain Seal Pong then warns that he has heard rumors that it may not be just a spider spirit this time. These creatures are strengthened by blood, and the one they had faced before had already consumed 5 people. Sanwoo then approaches the 2 girls and asks what their plans are for the rest of the day. Upon hearing that they will only be training near the barracks, our Seonwoo lets out a sigh of relief. He then remembers that in his past life the pink-haired girl died around this time. Therefore, he warns the 2 girls not to go to dangerous places and to stay alert while the leader is far away. With a smile, the girl thanks him for his concern and tells him not to worry about them. At another point, the group is in a courtyard when a woman walks by and catches their attention. Our boy recognizes her as the vice leader of the 4th squad, Mei Yokyung. Apparently, she is one of the important people our protagonist has been keeping under observation. He remembers that in the other timeline, she was eliminated by the spider spirit, and this worries him. The deputy leader mentions that she is looking for a member of her squad named Sun Herring. Our protagonist offers to let the girl know if he finds her, and the woman thanks him for his help. As she walks away, our hero remembers that Sun Harang is Jung's fiancée who passed away. One of the companions explains that Sun Harang has been having problems ever since, and our hero asks about her fiancé. The other boy says that he left to fight the 7 misfortunes a little before our boy arrived. Apparently, it's quite common on the front lines to lose a love, and then soon find a new interest. Our protagonist becomes thoughtful about the situation and says it's a shame things are like that there. Suddenly he remembers that in a past life the pink-haired girl went to comfort someone in the forest and was attacked. With this memory, he realizes that the person who was comforted was San Harang, and the danger is real. Seeing the desperate look on our boy's face, his teammates ask worriedly what's wrong. Our protagonist then says he has a bad feeling and that they need to find Sun Harang now. The 3 run desperately into the forest, and one of the boys asks if they will be all right alone. The other companion asks if he is afraid, but the boy says that the forest is very dangerous these days. But the other says that they can handle some spirits, and if everything goes wrong, they just run away. With no time to lose, our hero runs through the forest shouting San Harang's name without stopping. They then stop on a branch, and our protagonist suggests that they split up to search. At that same instant, a terrifying scream echoed throughout the forest, putting the group on alert. Without thinking twice, our protagonist yells for them to go and runs towards the sound. Running with a determined expression, our boy realizes that something is very wrong. Soon they find a horde of spirits surrounding and attacking a person lying on the forest floor. At that moment, one of the companions uses his indestructible charge and sends the spirits flying with a single blow. Our protagonist also joins the fight and starts punching and kicking the creatures to help his friends. After the commotion, the 3rd boy lands on a branch while the others finish dealing with the monsters. With a look of regret, our hero realizes that they arrived one step too late to save the girl. The 3 find Sun Harang's body and lament that she would be alive if they had been faster. Our boy wonders how she could have become so ill in such a short time against weak spirits. With a serious look, he approaches the body to investigate. He then notices fang marks on her neck and realizes that the spider spirit has been there. At that same instant, he desperately yells for his friend to move away from the body and get out of the way. Our protagonist then warns that they need to run because the true spider spirit is nearby. With an expression of pure panic, he realizes that the situation is much worse than he imagined. At that moment, the 3 look up and see a humanoid creature crouching on a tree branch. With a terrifying smile and glazed eyes, the spider spirit stares at them. Our protagonist and his friend are shocked and wonder if that thing is really smiling at them. The creature then lets out a deafening scream that echoes throughout the forest and frightens the group even more. One of the boys realizes the shout was a decoy, and our hero tells them to run south on number 3. He then begins the countdown, and the three prepare to sprint off in a desperate race for their lives. On the third day, they all run as fast as they can to escape the terrifying creature. But the monster leaps from the branch. In an instant, the spider spirit is already on the group's trail. The friend panics and shouts that the creature is too fast and asks what they should do. Our boy thinks that if they split up, two will manage to escape, but one will surely be left behind, and he knows that the person who would fall behind would be himself, being the slowest of the three. At that moment, the strongest companion stops, running, and tells the others to flee while he distracts the monster. With a smile, he asks his friends to survive in his place and not die under any circumstances. Our hero is completely shocked because his friend did exactly the same thing in a past life. He remembers his companion telling him to leave, while smiling in the same way. He is smiling now. Our protagonist then clenches his teeth and tells himself to calm down and think logically about the situation. Our hero thinks the spirits have caught up with them and that there's no way the three of them can get out of there alive. With a smile, he accepts the situation and realizes that a difficult decision is inevitable at that moment. Then he tells his stronger friend that they will leave the lesser spirits for him to deal with alone. But our protagonist turns to the other boy and says that he himself will take care of the spider spirit. The stronger teammate is completely shocked and speechless by our boy's attitude. Then our boy holds his blade, cutting his hand. Then he yells for his friend to run and bring the squad leader before he ends up leaving this place. The horde of spirits then advances with terrifying grins. The stronger friend tries to defend himself, but is soon surrounded on all sides by the creatures. Even in trouble, he yells for his companion to run and save our protagonist at all costs. Seeing his friends sacrificing themselves, the boy cannot hold back tears of despair and sadness. He then runs and shouts that they dare not die, for he will follow them to hell if necessary. Our hero calls him an idiot and says he will never forgive him if he leaves for such a silly reason. With his sword gleaming purple, our protagonist prepares to face the spider spirit.